All right, you guys. So you have got some great copy written. You've got all of your ad creative in place. We've got all of the puzzle pieces put together inside of our ad account. And so now it is time to get to building. So we're going to walk you through from the top of building a campaign. We're going to use one of our friends here, Pebby for Evie. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So once you're inside your account, you're going to go ahead and click create. We're going to get in here. So right away, you've got this buying type that pops up. So I'm going to say auction or reach and frequency. We're going to select auction. Reach and frequency takes away some of our campaign objectives, but what it also does is it's not as much focus on what we want to focus on here as conversions. So we mentioned before that we're going to talk about all these different campaign objectives. So you can see down here all of the different options that we've got. So on the far left, we've got brand awareness and reach. The main objective for those is just putting ads in front of people. The goal is not to put ads in front of people they're going to click. It's more so just put ads in front of as many people as possible. Traffic and engagement are kind of similar. So traffic, we're trying to drive traffic to your website. And so your Facebook's algorithm is going to be optimized to put those ads in front of people that are most likely to click. Engagement's the same way, although engagement could also mean just like a like or a share or a comment. App installs pretty clear here. Video views also pretty clear. Lead generation. So lead generation is pretty strong inside of Facebook, and we've utilized it with a variety of clients before. Actually, we've used it with Pebby herself, and it will allow you to collect emails natively on Facebook and Instagram and immediately feed them into whatever your email service provider is. So if you've got Klaviyo or MailChimp or any of those platforms, there's some really easy plugins or some Zaps using Zapier to connect those over. So if you're looking to build that email list, definitely another way to do it inside of here. And then messages. This is specifically messages inside of Facebook Messenger. And then what we're going to care about over here is our conversions, our catalog sales, less store traffic. Although, if we're opening up a new store location, or we're switching just from being an e-commerce into, now having a brick and mortar, you can use this based on the location of your store and only serving ads to people within a certain mile radius. But for this one, we're going to click on conversions. I'm going to roll it down here. So we like to use some campaign naming conventions. I'm going to just start with my campaign. So we're going to build the top of the funnel. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to say top of the funnel. So TOTF. So I know what this campaign is. And then, let's say this is for winter. So I'm going to say winter collection. And then I might put my launch date. And just because we're talking about winter, let's call this 12/1. So December 1st. So I'm going to click continue. So you could go in here and name your ad sets and your ads right away, but we're going to kind of take you through our normal standard build process here. So I'm in here. We've got this campaign, so I can go down here to this budget optimization section. So we have an option here where we can set the lifetime budget. As we mentioned before, we're going to set a daily budget. So the lifetime budget, the way that it separates your money out isn't quite as even versus a daily budget where you're basically telling Facebook, I want you to spend $10 every day, and Facebook's going to spend $10 every day. For the most part, there are a couple of exceptions to that, but for this example, it's going to spend that full amount. So here's where we want to get into our math. So if I've got, let's say I actually have my $3,000 of budget to split between all of my campaigns. So I've got top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. So if I've got $3,000 and I am spending 60% of that at the top of my funnel here, that gives me $1,800, and I'm saying on a monthly basis. So I've got $3,000 a month. So now I've got $1,800 to spend a month on my top of the funnel. And then I want to divide that by 30.4. So we say 30.4 because it's basically the average amount of days per month per year. So when we mix in the 31s, and February is kind of all over the place. So I want to divide my $1,800 per month by 30.4 to get my daily. So that gets me 59 and some change. I've got a little bit of flexibility here, so I'm just going to say $60 a day and call it on my daily budget for top of the funnel here. So then I've got this campaign bid strategy. So we can change this around. Right now, at the very beginning, this highest value or lowest cost is going to be where you want to live. So as you start to learn more about your customer, about your cost per acquisition here on Facebook, you can get into some of these other areas. So minimum ROAS, we'll talk about ROAS a little bit more as we get into kind of understanding your ads, but basically ROAS is the ad terminology for ROI. So ROAS stands for return on ad spend. So you're telling, with this bid strategy, you're telling Facebook, I only want you to spend money when you know that I'm going to get a minimum of a 10x return. Now, this sounds great, but until you really have a good understanding of how much it's going to cost for you to get a purchase on Facebook, this, and same with your cost cap and same with your bid cap, aren't necessarily going to be effective. And where I was mentioning just a moment ago about Facebook spending all of your budget versus not spending all of your budget, these are some areas where it wouldn't. So if you chose cost cap or minimum ROAS and you had your budget set to $60 a day, if Facebook was not going to be able to get your minimum ROAS, let's say just for this example, is set to 10x. If Facebook wasn't going to be able to get to 10x on every purchase from that day, it's not going to spend your whole budget. But for all of this, that's way more information than you actually need. For this purpose, we're going to leave this at highest value, lowest cost for our bid strategy. And just to show you what's in here, so we usually set our ads to run all the time. People are on Facebook in different time zones, and we all know what it's like to be up and scrolling through your timeline at various hours of the day. So we're just going to leave this. So this is our campaign, auction, set to conversions. We're not A/B testing anything right now. We've got our campaign budget and we've got our bid strategy, and we're going to go next. So because we're at the top of the funnel, and we built out all of those audiences ahead of time for our lookalike audiences and all of that. So now we're going to say, where do I want Facebook to serve all of those ads? And we also, again, have another kind of particular naming convention that we utilize here. So you can see my kind of history here pops up. So I'm going to say today that we're going to build this out specifically for Instagram. Obviously, Instagram is only available on mobile, but I just like to know that it's going to mobile. And then I'm going to say this is we call it act-alike or look-alike. We'll say look-alike for this example. Look-alike, web site engagement. Actually, we'll call this website visitors. Website visitors. And then Pebby focuses mainly on women. So I'm going to say I only want to serve this to women, and I want to serve this to women between the ages of 18 and 30. So now we're going to kind of scroll down through and make sure we've got all of our options here. So this ad set name is telling me exactly where and who I'm serving with this ad set. So those naming conventions are really strong, and we'll break those down a little bit more after we get through here. So next, you're only going to have one pixel, but just double check that it's the correct pixel. Once you have their pixel selected, then you're going to want to go in and select your conversion events. So you can see there's a lot of traffic here. So Peppy has had her pixel live for a very long time. She's got a lot of conversion events that are in here. This is where we recommend that you make sure you get that pixel in your website and set up in advance of building out these ads, because it's only going to make everything stronger the more information that pixel can collect. So because we're at the top of the funnel and we are trying to get people to make purchases on our website, my conversion event that I want to focus on here is purchases. So a couple of things in here. We're going to skip over this dynamic creative. It's a lot of headache for not a lot of return. And we're going to go right into this budget and schedule. So we set all of our ad sets with no end date. So basically we'll go in and manually turn them off. Now, if somebody was running a specific promo, maybe it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you wanted to run something only for that period of time, and it's crazy and you just don't want to think about it, that's an opportunity to use this. So you set a start date. If you're building this out ahead of time, you'd set it sometime into the future, and then you'd set an end date. Other than that, we set the start date. Basically, it's setting it for whenever we're creating an ad. And then we set our end date for, not, or a specific date into the future. And then this ad spend limit, we won't break into it too much, but this is a way to kind of control those ad sets inside of your campaign. So we set our campaign budget to $60 a day, but if I've got multiple ad sets and I really want to focus on Instagram, I can tell, the ad account, I want a minimum of $10 of that budget to always go into Instagram. Otherwise, it will automatically split your budget up based on what's going to be the best performing. So moving on down the row here, we're going to use a custom audience, because I said up here in my naming convention that I want to use lookalike website visitors. So I'm going in here, custom audiences. We've got a ton of them already built here. First one that pops up is a lookalike 1% of website visitors in the last 90 days. So I'm just going to click this. We've got plenty of other ones. And if you've got multiple web visitor lookalike audiences, you can use them all in the same ad set. You just would want to name that for yourself so you know. And then down here, we're being prompted, so switch to a value-based lookalike. So because we have so much information inside of our pixel, Facebook is prompting us that there's enough information here that we can set a value to all of these people. So basically it'll say like, this person's likely to spend $50, this person's likely to spend $90, whatever it is. So we can set that here for the purposes of this, and because most likely if you're building out these lookalike audiences for the first time, you're not going to be prompted with this. We're going to move on, but it is a great option. So if you do have this available to you, you're more than welcome to do it. It's definitely not going to hurt your campaign. It can only make it better. So I'm going to get out of that. Next, we're going to locations. So we're going to leave ours to all of the US. Now, this is going to be targeting, and you can see here at the top where it says people living in or recently in this location, and you can change that. So you can say people living in, people recently in, people traveling in this location. The people living in or recently in this location is kind of the all-encompassing thing, particularly for the US. Now, if you wanted to, you could get in here if there's specific states that maybe you don't ship to product wise. So let's say I got in here and I don't ship to Washington. So I'm going to click Washington, and now Washington is excluded. And you can see here on our map where that's X'd out. So it's going to be all the US, but I'm not going to serve to Washington. And maybe I also don't ship to Iowa. I'm sorry if you live in either of these states. They were arbitrary selections. So you can do that, and you can narrow this down even further. So inside of maybe it's just a city. So maybe you don't want to serve anything to Chicago. So I can click on Chicago. So we've got this Chicago DMA, which is basically the greater Chicago area. And you can see here that now Chicago, and I can do the same exact thing for inclusion. So if I didn't want to do the entire US, I only wanted to do specific states, I could get in here and do that as well. I could just say, oh, I only want to serve New York. And now I've got New York in here. And so on and so forth. And you can get down to, you can put in zip codes if you'd like. So I know the zip code for Ohio State's campus is 43210. And so now I can get in and do super refined targeting in terms of my location. And you can add all of these things in bulk too. So if you've got a whole list and you just have to kind of select it out, you can add those there. But I'm going to get rid of these just so that we have some consistency here. I'm going to go back. It's going to force me to put something in. So I'm going to say United States. So we've got all the US. Then I'm going to jump down to my age category. So up above in my ad set, I said 18 to 30. So you can advertise to younger than 18. One, wouldn't recommend it. Obviously, buying power is specifically with a particular age group. And two, you start to run into some specific rules about what you can and cannot advertise as you get under the age of 18. So we've got 18 and then at the top. So you can see here that at 65, it just goes to 65 plus. So if you are not looking to advertise to somebody who's like older than 70, unfortunately, you're kind of all trapped in there. After 65, it all kind of gets lumped into one. But I'm going to go down here. So I want the top of my age category to be 30. So this is my age range. So 18 to 30. I'm going to jump in here to my gender. I want only women. So obviously I can do both. I can just do men. And this is based on, mostly based on people's self-identification on the platform. So obviously, now we have a lot wider kind of gender spectrum. And so this is kind of based mainly on that. So if you are someone that's, serving unisex or maybe the gender non-binary category, all is probably going to be the best option for you. But if, you're looking to target specifically into, you only make women's products or you only make products targeted at men, you can obviously select either of those here. So we've got women. Generally speaking, we here, because this is not offered in any other language, we're going to click English just so that someone's not necessarily lost or confused on the website. You can leave this blank. It'll serve to everybody in your particular location. It's just kind of a personal preference. And then you have this detailed targeting in here. Because we're using a lookalike audience, we're not going to use our detailed targeting. This is what we talked about a little bit when we were talking about making saved audiences. So, this is our opportunity to kind of add specific things. So I could say engaged shopper. So I know that this is one of the audiences that's available in here. And you can see off to the right there, it says behavior is purchase behavior, engaged shopper, and description is people who have clicked on the call to action button, shop now, in the past week. And then you can see the size of that. So, almost 500 million people have clicked on the shop now button in the last week. So just another kind of reiteration of the power that exists inside of Facebook and Instagram. So you could add this if you really wanted to. In general, we kind of like to separate everything out. So having our lookalike audiences live just as a lookalike audience. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. And then we're down into our placements. So I'm going to click manual placements. And now I get the option to choose. So I've got IG mobile here in my ad set name. So immediately I'm going to go down. I'm going to unclick Messenger. I'm going to unclick Audience Network. And I'm going to unclick Facebook. So now it's only Instagram. I could select out and say device. I could tell it which device. I could say I only want it to serve on mobile. Obviously, this kind of resets things here. if you do Instagram, it is automatically only going to serve your ads on mobile. It will not serve them on the desktop. So it's just kind of a personal preference. So now I roll down, and now you can see all of these other options where your ads could serve are unchecked because they're not on Instagram. But I've got here Instagram Stories, Instagram Explore, and Instagram Feed. And this is where our conversation about your aspect ratio of your ad creative comes into play. So you can see in this example off to the right here, the different aspect ratios. So this is showing you an Instagram story. So we've got a 9:16 ratio. It's a full screen vertical. But then I come up to my Instagram feed, and we've got this recommendation that it's a square, it's a 1:1 image, and vertical 4:5 videos. So slightly different placements here. The Explore and the Feed have the same one, but that Stories is different. So for the sake of creating today, we're going to uncheck our Instagram Stories because I only want to serve this ad in Instagram Explore and Instagram Feed based on my aspect ratios, my sizes of my ads. So coming down to the bottom, so this is optimized for delivery. So we're optimized for conversions here. Again, at the beginning of your kind of Facebook ads career, this is the best option here. You can do things like landing page views, but that would also maybe want to denote changing out your campaign objective. And then you could say value as well. So you want to drive a particular return, but we're going to stick here with our conversions. It's going to be strongest. It's going to allow you to learn the most about your customer on Facebook and Instagram. How are they shopping? How much do they cost to acquire and all that? So we're going to leave this as conversions. And then I'm clicking next. Off to the right here, you can see this audience definition. So just really quickly here, because we're using a lookalike audience, it isn't giving me an exact amount. If I was to just use a saved audience, or if I was to create a new one here where I said, okay, I want US 18 women 18 to 30 interested in women's fashion and are engaged shoppers, I'm going to get an exact amount over here. But because of using a lookalike audience, it's going to take a little bit more time before I have this exact audience definition. So you can see the potential reach is available soon box up here. So I'm going to click next. So we created our campaign, we created our ad set, and now we're going to create our ad. So this is my next screen. And I'm going to turn preview on so you can immediately see as we're building this out. So I've got to select an Instagram account, making sure here these are two connected pieces. Our ad name. So another kind of naming convention piece. So we're going to say what the item is that we're advertising here. Side slit tee. I'm going to say the date. We're launching this 12/1 theoretically. I'm going to say where it's being served. So this one is only being served on Instagram. And then I'm going to say whether it's an image or a video. So I'm going to say image here, and then I'm just going to say image 1. So I know. So I come down. So here are your options. So we've got our single image or single video. I've got a carousel. So that means I'm going to have multiple videos or multiple images here. And then I've got a collection. Collections are associated with a particular product set, and you can create a couple of different looks of that about them. They're a little bit more advanced, so for the time being, it's best to stick to single images and carousel ads here. Both are really similar. The only difference in carousel is just a slight change up in how you build them out, and obviously you'll need multiple images per thing. We're gonna do single image here, so I'm gonna roll down. So I've got ad media, I've got images. Now I've already got a ton of images in here because we've been running ads here for a while, but just to kind of demonstrate the process, I'm clicking upload. I'm going to my desktop. I've got a folder here that says Pebby Forever. I'm just going to click on this first T here. So it's going to take a second to upload, and it's not going to let you necessarily continue on until it's uploaded. So I'm going to click continue. Immediately on the right hand side here, you're going to see this ad preview. So we've got specifically a product focused image here. So I've got this image on just this tee. There's no face in it. It's specifically focused on product. So next down, I've got my primary text. Now, this is where the differentiation comes in between setting up an Instagram ad and setting up a Facebook ad. On Facebook, I would be offered my primary text, also called your body text, as well as the space for my headline and my description. But if you remember, the headline and the description are not immediately available on Instagram. They're only available on Facebook. That headline text only gets pulled through if I create an ad that does not have the placements the way that we did. So we've got our Instagram mobile placement. If I had not done specific manual placements and placed this everywhere, I would have been offered to create a headline and a description, and that headline would have then pulled in at the front of this body text. So we've got our image, we've got our primary text. I have already pulled some of this is old copy, so we did something at Halloween, so obviously not incredibly relevant to launching this in December, but we've got this Excel sheet built out here. It's got a couple of different versions of copy, a couple of headlines, a couple of descriptions, and our final link text. So I'm going to go ahead and click copy and bring my primary text over. Immediately drops in, immediately comes down. So we've got a little bit of a more fun take on our ad copy here. The Peppy customer has been around for a while, so we've got a little bit more information about them. And then next down, I've got my destination. We're almost always going to choose a website. So I've got this URL to a specific collection. So I'm going to put this in here. So this display link, you can change this. This is really only a big pertinent option inside of Facebook. And 9 times out of 10, you won't need to display it, because what it's going to do is just display your standard URL anyway. So it would only display pebbyforevery.com. And then next down, I'm going to click my call to action. So you're going to have a ton of options inside of here. You can go ahead and circle through them on your own. For these purposes, we're going to click shop now. It's just kind of all encompassing. It is clear and denotes exactly what we're doing. And then we'll roll down. I like to double check that my Facebook pixel is plugged in here. We double checked it at our ad set, but just on the ad level. And you can see over here our ad preview. So I can go in, and if I need to edit this image, or if I want to only look at a specific placement and edit this for this specific placement, I can. So I could go in and I could say, okay, I only want to crop this, and I only want it to be a square. I'm going to move this up. But because of this image, we kind of lose what it is. So I'm going to go back to my original. So I'm just going to click cancel. So from top to bottom, that is our full creation process. So we made our campaign up here. Then we went through, we made our ad set. So we put all our information in here, our audiences, our location, our ages, our gender, all of that, our placements. And then we made our ad all the way through. If I was ready to, I'd go ahead and click publish. But we're going to hold on that, and we're going to talk about the campaign duplication process in a second. So that is from top to bottom building out your first campaign, and it's the similar process through the rest of them. We'll show you how to build it out at the bottom of the funnel with your product catalog, and we'll get you going. All right, you guys, so we walked you through your top of the funnel campaign setup, and your middle of the funnel campaign setup is going to be very, very similar. So we're not going to walk you through the steps of that You'll plug in your audiences in the same way that you will, and we'll put in some steps in your supplementary materials guide. But the one thing we do want to walk you through is actually setting up your bottom of the funnel, because we're going to use dynamic retargeting ads. And so the setup is a little bit differently, done a little differently here. So I'm going back in, I'm going to click create again. You can see our ad that we previously made. So I'm going to create a new campaign, sticking with my correct buying type. Now for bottom of the funnel, I'm going to click catalog sales. I'm going to go in. You're going to not have all of these catalogs in here. You're going to have one catalog most likely. I'm going to name this again. So we're going to call this bottom of the funnel. And this is winter collection 12-1. I'm going to click continue. It's going to walk us right back through the same process here. But now, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to set my budget. We're going to call this $15 a day. I'm going to go into my ad set. Now this is going to look a little different. So I'm going to call this product. I'm going to call this abandoned cart product catalog. So I'm going to select all products here in my promoted products. Same start date, end date situation as we did with our top of the funnel. But now I've got a slightly different option here with regards to my audience. So here I want to say we're going to use this is bottom of the funnel. So we're retargeting people. So I want to retarget ads to people who interacted with your products on or off Facebook. And then I'm going to come down here and I've got these options. So I viewed or add to cart but not purchased, added to cart but not purchased. I can upsell, I can cross sell, and then you can make custom combinations. For our purposes, we're going to use this added to cart but not purchased. So basically what that means is you have added, this customer has added a product to their cart on your website and did not go through to make the purchase on that particular product. And I can change the dates here. So I could make this, I did that in the last 14 days, could done in the last 7 days. We're going to extend our timeline out a little bit and say in the last 28 days. So I want to come down here to my conversion events. I'm sorry, my optimization, and set my conversion events. And then I'm going to set my ad type. I'm sorry, event type. So conversion events, meaning someone has purchased or done something. And then I want to set what specific event type. So we want to target people to go all the way through to purchase. So I'm going to click purchase here. We can change this placement category here. We can go to manual placement. With our bottom of the funnel and with our middle of the funnel, we generally tend to leave them to auto placement, because what's happened is this customer has already come to your site, particularly at bottom of the funnel. They've come to your site, they've interacted with the product, they've gone through to purchase, and they've not completed the purchase. For some reason, sometimes people just walk away from their computer. So they've seen the product already. So now I'm kind of taking myself out, and I just want them to see it again. And this dynamic retargeting ads with our product catalog is the perfect way to do that, because it just takes whatever those items were that somebody already saw and sends them right back to that customer. So once I've set this all up, so I've got my product and then I've set it to retarget ads. I want to add to cart but didn't purchase. So we want to really make sure that we don't want to necessarily target people who added something to cart and went through all the way to purchase. Maybe longer down the line, someone who added to cart and purchased 180 days ago. But for these purposes of bottom of the funnel, this is what we're looking for: is added to cart but did not purchase. I'm setting everything to auto placements. My optimization for ad delivery is set to conversion events, and my event type is set to purchase. So I'm going to click next. Again, this entire setup here is going to be slightly different. So because we are have our placements as everywhere, you can see in our preview on the right, it's showing you what it's going to look like across the board in our different settings. Then I've got dynamic formats and creative selected here, which just basically means it's going to serve a different kind of setup based on where it's serving that ad. We've got our catalog already selected, all of our products selected. So here is I can add back in our primary text. So I could add in the text that we put in. I could add in different text that says something specifically around our bottom of the funnel. So for this instance, I might say, hey, you forgot something don't wait any longer to take home your new Pebby for Evie. Headline is set to dynamic, so it's going to automatically pull whatever the product name is from our site. So you can see over here on the right hand side, it's pulling the product names in for this whatever is happening here. And because Pebby uses all caps, they're being pulled in as all caps. It's going to pull directly from your website. So then we've got our website URL. This should already be set because it's connected to your catalog. And then your call to action button, we're setting ours to shop now. There's some other things in here. If you've got an app, so you choose your app in here. And deep linking is also in relation to an app. So if you're not working with the app, don't worry about it too much. Again, double checking your pixel. And now we've got our dynamic retargeting ads set up for the bottom of the funnel. So we didn't have to build out ads. We do have copy in here. And I created this copy. You guys heard me talk it through. It's really simple. It's really easy. The headlines are dynamic. If you wanted to add in some description, you could. There are dynamic fields in here that you could add. So we could click price, which is going to automatically add that product price underneath. So it's going to pull, again, all of this information is pulling direct from your product catalog, which is pulling from your website. And then it's pulling these main images straight from, your site as well. As long as you're making sure you've got your correct Facebook page selected, your correct Instagram account selected. And then this ad name, I skipped over it at the beginning. It's a little less pertinent because we've only got this one ad set and this one ad inside of that for our dynamic retargeting ads. But if you wanted to name it something different, following our same naming conventions, by all means, go for it. And now we're here. So I'm going to kind of close out of this for a second. And you can see everything we've got in draft here. So says in draft, it's in green. We haven't gone all the way through to the full publishing completion yet, but we'll walk you through that in our next one as we talk about efficiency and campaign duplication and ad set duplication and how can make your life a lot easier. So we'll catch you back here in a moment.